Oh, good. Oh, good. Well, we're here. We're live. I am I'm Nikki Woods, and I appreciate you tuning in. I am super excited about who we're going to talk to and why we're getting ready to talk to him. But let me just say, I think it's very interesting. I do a lot of interviews, but I don't think I've gotten as many inbox messages about anybody that I've gotten about this particular interview. Like cousins and friends and colleagues. So, like, you are like a major rock star, Detective Chris Anderson. I don't know if you know. I don't know if it's like the gun or the badge. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Well, I appreciate that. That's a huge compliment. I don't take it lightly. I appreciate it.
Okay, well, good. We just want to embarrass you right off the bat. So let me tell everybody a little bit about who you are. We're getting ready to talk to Detective Chris Anderson. He is a retired homicide detective with the Birmingham Police Department. He was also a fan favorite on 48 Hours, which is kind of like legend in these here parts. And now an exciting new show, Reasonable Doubt, where you and your partner, Melissa, and I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name, but Melissa, who is beautiful and talented, try to help families discover whether or not their loved ones are really innocent or guilty of the crime that they've been convicted of. Correct?
That's correct.
I got it? I got all of it?
Got all of it in. Her name is like Melissa Lewkowicz. It's Lewkowicz.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So start by telling me a little bit about why you decided you wanted to become a cop, then a detective, and then a homicide detective. Oh, hi, Melissa. Melissa's on. I'm sorry. Hi, Melissa.
Yeah, I knew she would be. Appreciate you. I knew she would be. I had no idea. But so, yeah, about becoming a cop. So my mother was a police officer for 26 years. As a matter of fact, her last 6 or 7 years, I got the opportunity to work with her with Birmingham.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And as a young guy, as a young kid, my mom had this way with people. We'd be at dinner and, out at a restaurant, it'd be me and my brothers, and we'd be out at dinner and people would come up that she's actually put in jail and would say, hey, I just want to I just tell you, I appreciate everything you did for me. You changed my life.
Wow.
These are people that look like they've been down through there.
Yeah.
So, I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the job. I was the one that usually was responsible for picking my mom up from work, like most teenage kids would. I pick up from work, and usually I would go up there early, and just to sit around the precinct. So I got to meet a lot of good cops, a lot of good cops. Mm-hmm. And I fell in love with the job, and I went on, and my plan was to go to school and play football and, go on to the NFL. But that didn't work out for me. So so when I left school, I decided to go on and try it, put in for the police test, and did exceptionally well on the written portion, and did very well on the physical part of it. And my mother always steered me and my brothers away from police work. She really did.
I can imagine.
Right. So yeah, after I passed everything, I brought it all to her and said, hey, Mama, I passed the test. And she was a little upset, but she took that motherly deep breath, and then she just began to tell me about the job and tell me about what I needed to watch for. And I was already, me, 21-year-old kid. I already knew what police work was all about. So I got it, Mom. I got it. So went into police work.
You always know everything.
Right. We always do. My son is exactly the same way. So yeah, I quickly found out that I didn't know everything about police work. And it took me about a year before I settled myself down and really started understanding that there's a lot to be learned in police work.
Right.
The rest is pretty much history.
So tell me, was there ever like a point in your career where you're like, you know what, this was not the right choice? I did not make the right decision.
Absolutely, there was. As a matter of fact,
Tell me about that moment. What was that moment like?
there have been several moments that I thought that this wasn't the job for me. It was it was real eye opening. It gets real very quick in police work, and it happens just like that, just like that. So a lot of these training scenarios that you see the police officers putting people through where they, you have a shoot or no shoot type scenario. I've had several of those real life scenarios. And, each one of them I had to take as a learning experience. I could have lost my life. But, God has always had his hands around me. I've been one of those young men that always needed prayer. My mother, my family. I'm serious. I'm so serious about that. I was that
prayer, but I think you sounded like you needed a little extra.
I needed a little extra. I'm the one that when I got baptized, they dipped me twice in the pool. So yeah, I had a lot of people praying for me, and I made it through my 21 years and never had to shoot anybody. Thank God. Never ever
shot anybody in 21 years.
No, I've never shot anybody.
I mean, that's good. I don't mean to just say that.
I've never wanted to shoot anybody. I've had several instances where it could have went either way. Several instances. Mm-hmm. But, hey, God is, like I said, God has always had his hands around me. I don't know, I know I could if I had to. But I've never wanted to, and no cop should ever want to shoot anybody.
So before we start talking about reasonable doubt, because I really want to get into that and talk about, the state of some of, I guess, our legal system with people going to jail wrongfully convicted. But tell me what you think about just the state of the relationship between officers, police officers, and the community, and why it seems to be so out of hands, maybe?
So I think that with the, with the way technology has progressed, I think this has always been happening. But I think now the way that technology has progressed, you're seeing it more. It's more in the forefront. Right. So I think each one of these cases, I get this question a lot, actually, and I should have already had a prepared statement. but actually, each one of these cases, you have to look at them individually. There are some cases where, a regular citizen would see that there was some misconduct. There are some cases where I see there are some misconduct, or that things did not go exactly right, like they should have gone, like we've been trained to do. But there are some of those cases where I say, well, if I were in that position, I probably would have done the same thing. Yeah, it's a lot of them. There are a lot of those cases. But,
yeah, and I think it's hard for people that are not in the situation, that are not like police officers. I think it's hard for us to understand what it's like to be in that moment when you have to make that hair-trigger decision about which way the situation is going to go.
Right. I'm a huge advocate for, your everyday citizen going and getting some form of police training so you'll understand more. I'm a huge advocate of it.
Really?
I would absolutely.
Take police training courses?
Well, there are some citizens academies where they will put you through police-based scenario trainings. Yes. Really? Yeah. There are citizens police academies. A lot of well, in my city, we have a citizens police.
Special Birmingham is, yes.
Exactly. With our history, we have to have something like that.
I'm it's like a field trip. We could all go, together and go through the scenarios. How did reasonable doubt come about? I mean, we know you work 48 hours, and people fanatical about 48 hours. And especially your Birmingham being featured and you being featured. But how did reasonable doubt come about? So
I always say this first. First off, it was God. It was God. and then now let me give you the human answer. So, and you'll be able, you'll be able to tie in and see where God had his hand all over this. He has his hand all over it now. So, I officially announced that I was going to retire in about March of 2016. I had no plans on retiring, but I got offered the job of my dream, and I had just gotten my 21st year in, so I was eligible to retire then.
Right.
So here comes this job, because I was planning on doing my 26 years and leaving the department and maybe going into teaching. But here comes this job offer. I wasn't looking for it. I get an email from the director of this company, says, "Hey, I got a job opening. I need somebody with your experience. We pay this much, and you get this."
Like a pen.
I say, "Hey, this is for me. This is what God has for me."
I got big just telling the story.
So I hadn't even got into it yet. So I hope you got time. I don't mean to take up all the time, but
We got all the time in the world.
Okay, so yeah, I get this job. They offer me the job. I go ahead and turn in my paperwork. Now, 2 weeks before I'm due to start taking my leave and move into this job, I get a call from the production company, Painless Production. They said that hey, Chris, we've been trying to get in touch with you for weeks. We saw you on Plus 48. We like what you have to offer. We're actually looking, I don't know if you'll be able to take this, but we're actually looking for a retired police officer, a police sergeant, or a homicide investigator for this show. I'm like, well, I'm retiring in a couple of weeks. They immediately, he almost dropped the phone when I said that. So he says, I need to get you on a Skype interview with the show's owner, the show's creator, Rob Rosen. I said, okay, that's fine. They wouldn't tell me what the show was about, but I mean, I'm not about to turn down an opportunity. We do the Skype interview with Rob Rosen, and then that's where he tells me about the show. And I was absolutely blown away because, number one, we are reopening old homicide cases in order to look at getting someone that's been wrongfully convicted a new trial. That's unheard of. That's hard enough to do in a 5-part series, but you're going to do it in an hour-long episode? So I'm like, I'm blown away by it. And then when he explained it to me, I said, look, Rob, hey, even if I'm not chosen, I'm going to be a fan of the show because this is something that's needed. It's something that will help someone. You'll be able to reach people that had no idea that they could get as much publicity on this for a case.
And I think it's fascinating to watch because we're connected on Twitter. I think it's fascinating because I see all your responses. I don't necessarily see all the questions, but I always see you responding. Well, you have to send your case to this email. We got to vet your case because so many people are interested in having you and Melissa come in and look at their cases now.
Yes, we get about 10 requests per day.
Yeah.
Every day to look at cases. Now, of course, all of those cases are not innocent. If you watched any episode, we're not looking to poke holes in the defense's case. No, we're looking for that person that truly is wrongfully convicted, is serving time for something that they did not do. And in our justice system, if there is one person that is serving time for something that he did not do, we fail.
The entire system.
The entire system is at fault. And so, and especially if we're not doing enough to get this person a new trial. So, yeah.
So you were all in, and clearly they were all in because now you're on the show.
Absolutely.
And I'm hoping, that you dedicate a lot of time because, I mean, even though we see an hour, I mean, you and Melissa, how long do you and Melissa have to actually work on the case? How long do you actually have to work on the case?
Oh, okay. So we working on the case is probably somewhere between a couple of weeks, but we only have 1 week to record. So we have a group of people that'll go and collect all of the evidence or information that we'll need. And then when we land in the city, they pile all that stuff up in the room, and Melissa will be in her room, and I'll be in my room, and we go through and we start studying. We start looking through everything through the cases, everything that happens, and then we'll make phone calls. Hey, I need this, I need this, I need this, you know. And so it's 1 week of recording, but it's months and months of prep work.
I mean, I can only imagine, because I mean, you see just the boxes that, you know, people pull out. How long had you heard of Melissa before you guys were paired to do this? You guys have great chemistry.
You know, and that's another thing. See, I'm gonna keep bringing this back to God, because when I first went to California, after they finally decided, after they told me that, hey, we want you for the show, they said, we need you on the plane to California within a week. Okay, I fly down to California, and that's the very first time that I meet Melissa, and she's a defense attorney. Can you understand? Yeah. You can understand the dichotomy that would happen between Melissa and myself. We've worked on different sides of the law for our entire careers. Right. We get in that room, and we're at our meeting, meeting with the producers and everybody, and you know, she's saying things about cases, and I'm saying stuff about cases from a detective side, and she's saying it from a defense side. So it's kind of like this for you know, for a good little while. And then after the meeting, we decided they said that they're taking us out to dinner. I said, you know what, I'm gonna ride with Melissa. And she and I rode together, and it took us about 20 minutes in California traffic to go right down the street. Right. And in that 20 minutes, that's when I realized exactly who she was. She and I were so much alike, and we both want the same thing. We've just wanted it from different angles. Right. And that's truth and justice. So, yeah, and it's and we have our friendship has grown now. She is like my sister. She will call me at 2:00 in the morning. It'll be 12 o'clock her time. She'll call me at 2:00 in the morning about something that has nothing. And I'll call her every day. You know, hey, what you doing? You got court today? Okay. Well, I call you after court. You know, it's just like that. It's like brother and sister.
Oh, that is really, really awesome.
It is. And what people think that we're actors. I'm not an actor. She's not an actor. You know, we are the personality that you see on screen. That's exactly who I am 100% of the day, all day.
I think we got that. I think we got that. But it really does translate well, and I think that's one of the reasons that the show works. Mm-hmm. I mean, both of you all bring your own opinion, right? Not in an adversarial way, but you both know what you believe, and I think you have like the greatest looks. Like I'm waiting for the memes for you all to to start having. Each of you all have your looks that you'll give, and we're like, okay, here we go.
There have been several memes that have been made.
Yeah, it's because you guys have the looks. It's really very funny. So I want to know, one of the questions that I got in my inbox, and we all want to know, when you're sitting there in the interrogation room and you are talking to somebody who's been convicted of a crime, and you have to determine in 30 minutes whether or not this person is telling the truth, what do you look for from them that will convince you that they're being honest?
Number one, I'm listening to every single word that they say, every single word. And then I'm looking for how they translate, how those words match up or corroborates with the evidence that I've seen in this case. That's the number one thing. And then, I'm looking for your eye contact, and I'm looking for whether or not you can, because we have a lot of guys that, I've talked to a lot. I've talked to a lot of murderers. And there are certain things that you just feel. It's more like a feeling, I guess. Each one of them have. Every time I talk to them, it's always something a little bit different. I'll look for certain things that I know that he's telling. I'll ask him a question that I know he'll have to tell me the truth on, and I'll look at how he reacts. or look at his facial expressions, certain twitches, certain moves. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And I hate to really go into details for it because
you don't want to give it away.
I'm speaking 10 or 12 seasons into existence right now.
Right.
So by the 10th season, folks will be, I know you're looking at that, Chris. I don't want that to happen, because I just want the truth, and I want you to be honest with you, with me.
So I think I know 2 homicide detectives, and you're one of the 2. Do you ever? And I know the other one that I know, like, he's never not a detective. He's like never not. I mean, that is just like who he is. Is that the same for you?
I do believe that being a cop is interwoven into yourself. So I'm always a police officer. I'm always watching for cars in my neighborhood that drive by slow, or looking at a group of teenagers at a place that they probably shouldn't be. I'm always a cop, and I hate that. I'm at dinner, and I'm trying to relax. And I'm looking at the argument that's happening between the customer and the waitress. Yeah, it's little stuff like that. Yeah, so I'm never not a cop. Even though I've retired, I'm still a cop.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mother's still a cop. Yeah, she is.
You all together must be funny.
Oh my God, she is hilarious. She is absolutely hilarious. I can't believe she's not trying to figure out how to type a message right now, because I know she's watching.
Oh, that's sweet. Well, my mom is on, so you might hear from her in a second too. But tell me, because I know that you said that you might go into teaching when you retired. That was a thought, and I know you do a lot of work with young people, and you're very passionate about talking to them. What is your message to them? What do you want them to know?
Well, I mentor a group of kids at my old school in my old neighborhood. And, I always tell my guys, hey, dream big. Don't just sit back. Because most of the kids today, and most of our kids today, they see athletes, hip hop artists, and that's exactly what they want to be. But I try to, okay, if you want to be, and I told them I had those exact same dreams. So, but sometimes God sends you in a direction where you never thought that your life would go. Every step you grind, every step of the way you grind, and you work hard no matter where you are. And then something good will happen to you in the end.
I love it. So a new episode airs tonight. Tell us a little bit about the episode without giving too much away. I've seen the trailers, and I already know how I kind of feel about it. Whenever a man and a wife and he's convicted of killing her, I feel some sort of way. You
have to listen to the evidence. The father in this case, his pleas to Melissa and I were very, very compelling. This case, this man was convicted of murdering his wife, and the case was overturned 3 times. It was overturned 3 times. But before he was finally convicted. So, that's a little concerning for me. I always want to try to figure out why the case was overturned. So, he claims that his wife tried to commit suicide while he was in the vehicle, and ended up driving the vehicle off a ledge and into a lake with the both of them in it. And he was able to escape from the car alive, and she did make it. So,
and correct me if I'm wrong, I watch a lot of crime TV, but I believe that this has been featured before. This story has been featured before.
This case I'm not aware of. Now, the case, the Kubicki case with the former police officer, that case was featured before on another movie. I think it was a Lifetime. I can't remember the network, but the former police officer case was a television show. But this case I'm not aware of. I don't know.
Google it, because I'm pretty sure I've seen him before, but the whole case just sounds really familiar.
Oh, really?
Interesting, because in one of the promotional clips, Melissa's like, there is a problem.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like perfect, and she was, so badly injured, and of course, and died. But there is a problem.
Correct.
I don't think I've seen her that fired up. That was. I'm really excited. I think it's gonna be a good show.
This is this case. You will see a lot of fire from. There will be a lot of fire in this case. I can assure you of that.
All right. Well, if you all have questions, we can take a couple before we let Detective Anderson go. But the show does air tonight, A Reasonable Doubt, on the ID channel at 10 Eastern, right? 10 p.m. Eastern?
It's 9 Central. Yeah, 10 p.m. Eastern.
9 Central. So that's good. I know one of the questions that we saw earlier is, what advice do you give? And this is an interesting question for me because, with everything that's happened, I've had to have this conversation with my sons who are now teenagers and one's about to turn 16. What do you tell them to do if they're ever pulled over by a cop or they're in a situation where the police are involved? What advice do you give them on how to handle themselves?
Okay, so, police officers make literally thousands of traffic stops every single day. But that is that one that could seriously turn bad. So being on the other side, I would suggest you keep both hands on the steering wheel properly in the vision of where the officer can see your hand. A lot of people say that they don't like to roll their windows down. But, to me, that heightens my awareness. If I'm a police officer, why do you want to keep the windows down? There are a lot of people that mean to do police officers harm who keep their windows up. They don't want to roll them down. My suggestion would be roll that window completely down and take both your hands and put them back on the steering wheel. Look straight ahead. Don't look at the officer. You have absolutely no need to look at him until it's time for you to pull out, until he's asking you to do something that requires you to move your hands. Then if you want to take a look and say, okay, officer, why am I being stopped? He has to tell you, and he should tell you if you're cooperating with what he says. So, and just one traffic stop I had once before that I didn't even write this man a ticket, which, now mind you, I hate traffic tickets. I hate writing tickets. I hate doing traffic stops. But this young man, when I stopped him, he said, okay, he kept his hands on the steering wheel. He said, okay, officer, I'm going to reach over and pull my wallet out of my back pocket. And he told me everything that he was doing. So once I got all of his information, I ran him through NCIC. I came back to the vehicle. I said, you know what, sir? Have a nice day. I'm not going to cite you, but the reason why I stopped you was this, and this. Went on by his way. Easy. Just simple. And there are a lot of cops out there that do that. So I just say try to be as cooperative as possible. If you see where that officer is being a little belligerent or may not make you feel as comfortable as you need to feel, then it's time for you, okay, pull out your recorder and start recording the conversation or something of that nature. Just don't. But still be cooperative. Still be cooperative, and live. That
was my thing. I was like, baby, we will march, we will fight, we will. That's later. I just need you to come home. That's all I need.
Mm-hmm. And I have to have that same talk with my sons and my daughters, and even daughters now. It's bad. Some of these situations are very, very bad. I will say that.
Okay. Okay. All right. One of the questions that asked, and I'm going to have to get Melissa on because some of these questions are from Melissa as well. Okay. When you find out about a situation like last week's episode, I thought was really poignant because you both believe that there were some serious issues with the case, with the man who had been convicted of killing, I guess it was his friend. And so you saw that was the drug dealer relationship.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
I don't know what to call it. It was like, but anyway, but he was convicted of killing his friend, and it was the new wife and the daughter who was fighting for him to get out. And there were some serious issues, and both you and Melissa looked really moved at the end because you knew that they had something to do. How does that affect you when you know that there could be some serious issues and there may be somebody wrongfully convicted? Where does that?
So no. I mean, the feeling that I get is almost I won't say it's exactly the same feeling, but it's almost like going to a family that you've had to give a death notification to. It's almost like going to them and telling them that, hey, it's almost like going to them and saying that, hey, you know, we arrested the person that's responsible for this murder. I mean, I get that same feeling of accomplishment. Like I've really done something to help this family. You know, and with Robert, you know, it felt the exact same way because nobody would there is nobody that would really take his case. You know, even though there's
some issue just with him and his credibility.
Right, exactly. And those are the types of people that okay, I'm sorry. I was reading it.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, Robert has issues of credibility. You know, he was, you know, a guy that did things to get drugs. You know, he was a guy that sold drugs. He was a drug dealer, despite the fact that he didn't want to admit it on camera.
He just sold drugs. He wasn't a drug dealer.
He was, yeah. Okay, Robert. All right. But still, you have to look at the evidence. There is you have a person that the ID witness that says that they saw him, and then you have another ID witness that says that they saw him riding away from the scene. But neither one of those ID witnesses were credible on day one, and that's huge. That's huge to me. And then once you go back and start peeling back those layers, you find so many different problems with the case that I think this is one of those cases that just deserves a second look. It really deserves a second look because there is nothing to corroborate what the ID witnesses said. And then both those ID witnesses, which is the foundation of that case, both those ID witnesses goes back to court and recants their statement. Now, I have seen cases where you'll have a witness that will recant their statements. But everybody that testified in the case, and that's the foundation of your case, that's a problem to me. And then you don't have any physical evidence to corroborate anything that was done. I mean, that case deserves a second look.
Well, and you all thought it deserved a third look because you and Melissa actually offered to get them an investigator.
Correct.
I guess the bottom line was the only way to prove him innocent was to find who was guilty.
Right, exactly, and not necessarily that. There are other things. There were other avenues that the investigator, which the investigator in this case is absolutely phenomenal. I talked to her 2 to 3 times since it's aired. I've talked to her probably 6 or 7 times with new information that they're finding.
Right.
But she's absolutely phenomenal, and even the case with Mac Phelps, the Mac Phelps case, the investigator and the new attorneys, they are absolutely phenomenal.
Is that the rapper?
That's the hip hop artist.
Hip hop artist.
Yeah, that was our first episode.
Right.
And I mean, you know, they found a lot of things that we couldn't really address in the 1 hour show, but there are a lot of things that happened in that case also.
So one last question before I let you go. Are you all going to be doing any of these updates? Like you all at the end of the season should do like an update show where you can kind of bring everybody up to speed on where, you know, the new investigations are. Shout out to the producer.
Absolutely. That was already in the plan. It'll probably be in the second season. But yes, update shows are definitely in the works. You know, we are speaking of second season for Reasonable Doubt. And, you know, it's not a short process. I wish that at the end of the hour-long episode, we could flash up something that says that Mac Phelps and Robert Jones have both been released, and now they are.
Clearly, people on Twitter expect you to. They really
I think the show is so new and it's so different that a lot of people don't know what to expect. It doesn't work. Our criminal justice system.
So it's like Law and Order. Like we want it wrapped up in an hour. We want it to be done like with a nice little bow. I think we've been conditioned. Right.
It just doesn't happen like that. I mean, but the best thing that I know to do is to first, you have to start that conversation. You have to bring some attention to these cases. And that's what our first season is all about. We need to bring some attention to some of these cases, and even some of the cases that we think that the clients or the convicted are guilty, because those parents and those loved ones are serving time right alongside that person that rightfully belongs in prison, honestly.
Yeah, and that news is never received well. I will say that you almost got kicked out of somebody's house once for telling them.
Hey, you bring us in. We are not neutral when it comes to justice. I mean, injustice. We can't be neutral. So if this case was done right, and we think that this was a rightful conviction, then we have to tell the families. We have to tell them. And maybe some of them that were recorded, they were not very receptive to it at first, because I mean, they've been fighting for this for 10, 15, 20 years, some of them, so you can't just come in and tell me something that I've been fighting for 20 years is not, right. But a lot of them, after we leave, after they've, suppressed some of the anger and listen to some of the things that we said, some of them call us back and tell us thank you. That happens more often than most people think.
Which is why we need an update show.
Exactly. Well, hey, if we keep the people that are following this Be Live and the people that follow you and let them all know about Reasonable Doubt, then maybe we will get that second season. I'm already speaking into existence.
Not about it. It's a done deal. Don't look too good. It's a done deal. I really do believe this the second season, and probably more, but I don't think that they're going to let this go.
Well, we appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate it. Don't forget to check out tonight's edition of Reasonable Doubt channel. It airs at 10. It's going to be sitting there. And I appreciate Melissa for, kind of taking up the of us and just fighting for justice. Worthy.
Thank you. I didn't catch that last part if you said something.
Fighting for us.
We appreciate you. We appreciate you for this opportunity, Nikki. This has been a wonderful, wonderful interview. And I hope your dad enjoys this next show. And yeah.
Yeah, Daddy and I will chop it up and see what happens.
I appreciate it.
All right. Talk to you soon. You guys have a great show tonight.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.